Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Joe Sidoti here. This is part 2 in a 2-part series on levels being too hot. So if you didn't watch the first video, go ahead and go back and watch that first. I think that'll be helpful. I'll put a link up in the screen and down in the description as well. And if you did watch the first video, well, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about meters and the difference between DBFS and DBU. We're going to be talking about recording levels and what those levels should look like, and moreover, what should the waveforms look like. I'm going to do my best to show you some really cool tips and tricks, so stay tuned. Let's get started. Okay, now we did talk about meters a little bit in the first video, but I really want to dive in deeper. So I want to talk about the difference between DBFS or full scale metering and VU meters or DBU, and some call it DBV. And there's a lot of smart people out there that know all sorts of stuff. Just go to Wikipedia if you want to get more information on the major differences between DBU and DBV. People really nerd out on that stuff, so have fun with that. In this video, I just want you to understand the differences between the two so you know how to read your meters in whatever DAW that you're using. All right, here we are diving into Pro Tools, and the first thing you see is, of course, my Waves VU meter. It is my favorite meter. I use it all the time. So I want to show you a couple things about the preferences in Pro Tools when it comes to metering. Check this out. So if I go up here, go to Preferences, and if you notice, there is a metering tab here, and you can go right to that and make some adjustments to the different meter types. You can choose the drop down, pick whichever meter you're wanting, and you can make some differences as far as like the color breakups, when it goes from green to yellow, and when it goes from yellow to red, things like that. Did you also know that you can have different meter scales on your tracks versus your master meters? And did you also know that you can right-click right on the meter and change what it is? So there, I right-clicked, I can go VU, I can go Pro Tools Classic. So this is what I tend to do. My tracks are always on VU, and my master faders, my master fader, if I click that, it's on Pro Tools Classic. Pro Tools Classic is a DBFS scale. So that means when it hits 0, that is as high as you can go on a waveform before clipping. Now, most of the current DAWs are actually 32-bit floating, so you've got way more headroom within the DAW, but we're talking about having to save a WAV file, and you can't go above 0 when you're saving a WAV file. If there is signal above 0, it literally just chops it off, so you don't want that. So my master bus or my master tracks, they have the DBFS scale, so I kind of know where I'm at in the grand scheme of things. And then my individual tracks have the VU. So, okay, let me just show you real quick. In my metering, on my VU settings, I actually have 0 being minus 15 DBFS. So when I'm at minus 15 in the digital full scale, it's going to show up as 0 on a VU. Now, why minus 15? Let me explain. Normally, it's kind of argued, and there's some room for debate, but generally speaking, most audio engineers agree that minus 18 DBFS is 0 on a VU meter. But that's peak, not RMS. It's usually about 3 dB hotter when you're talking about measuring RMS. It certainly is the case that way on these Waves VU meters, so that's what I'm going to adjust. So what I do is I switch it to minus 15 instead of minus 18 so that I'm getting a sense of where my mix is on average, not just peaks. Okay, I want to show you an example of how this meter works just so you can fully understand. I hope I'm not beating a dead horse here, but this is just a huge part of everything down the line and your gain structure and your recording levels and everything sounding as good as it can. So we want to get this right. Okay, what I've done is I've set up a VU meter on these two tracks that I created with pink noise. I recorded one at -18 peak and one at -18 RMS. I want you to see how the VU reacts differently to just peak and RMS. It's a big difference. So this should be the -18 peak. And we're about -3. Okay, let's move the meter up to this track. And let's see what -18 RMS looks like on the VU meter. So you can see, I mean, it's not pegged, we're about +2, it's, you know, +3. So it's significantly hotter just going RMS, but that's a really nice, hot rock and roll level. Do you notice, let's zoom in here for a second. Do you notice the difference in waveform? Do you see how small this waveform is here? This is -18 peak, and this is -18 RMS. I just want you to remember that for a second as a reference, because next I want to talk about what should the waveform look like. Okay, let's talk about these waveforms. It's important as an audio engineer to have systems that you always follow and that you repeat, so that you have something to weigh your decisions against. Well, I normally do it this way, and it normally looks like this, so that's your comparison. I want to show you these waveforms in this session. This is a song that I wrote. I played drums and guitar, and the great Josh Auer from PAX 217 played bass on this track for me, which was an honor to have him. It's definitely the best part of the song. This isn't meant to showcase any of that, but it's just something that I had that actually had the levels that I wanted to show you. So here is my drum, starting with kick sample, snare top, a snare sample, a snare bottom, hi-hat. I've replaced the, I should say I deleted all the noise in the toms, ride cymbal, overheads left and right, room left and right. And then we're going on, we got bass, we got electric guitar, we've got some soft synth here. I'm used to seeing what the waveform looks like when the signal is right at about -18. Let's bring up our meter again, and let's just play the song from the beginning, and let's see what our meters look like. Delay. Okay, you saw that we were just totally right around 0, and it sounds good. You know, obviously I'm having to do some sort of mastering to this, you know, video, and then YouTube's going to do what they're going to do. But I just want to show you that the levels are great. Now, full disclosure, I do, before this VU meter, I have the whole mix going through the virtual tape machine from Slate. And what do you know? The meters they give you are VU. And I have that tape. This is just coming in pretty much straight up standard. So I've got that not even hitting 0. I'm then hitting a little bit of a compressor. And I think I'm hitting maybe -2 on this, the MU. Which again are VU meters. And then I'm going to the Chris Lord Algae Mixdown. I've pretty much been using this on every master bus lately. I just bring it in at the default settings. It's a little interesting because it's like you've got a full scale meter here, but then you've got a VU meter here. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. But when this thing's working right, you just get about -2, no more than -3 gain reduction on your VU meter, and you know you're solid. So just wanted to point that out, that those things are on. They're bringing peaks down just a little bit so that my whole mix can sit right at 0. There, now you know. So one of the things that I see a lot of people do, and it's really a vital mistake that they're making, is that they do vertical zooming, right? So if I come up here and I zoom this down 2 clicks, it looks like my files are really, really low. I mean, if I come over here to my hi-hat, it's like, wait, did you even record anything? No way that kick drum's gonna be loud enough, right? It's deceiving because your eyes are seeing a small waveform. That's why your meters are so important. Your meters don't change no matter what the size view of your waveform is. So you've got to keep careful. Now watch, keep careful. You have to be careful. I can zoom really, really big. Now it looks like this file here, looks like my room mics are completely clipped and distorted, and uh-oh, this is unusable. You know, if someone were to just show you this, you'd be like, yeah, you completely destroyed your room mics. And it's all because I've just zoomed in. Again, the meters haven't changed. But the zooming did. So don't be trapped. Double check. That's why I showed you those pink noise waveforms, so you can start to really get muscle memory. When my zoom is set right, a -18 signal should look like this. And that's just another way for you to know that you're not recording too hot. Or if a mix comes to you and you're just mixing it, make sure that you're checking your meters, not just looking at the waveform, because that's going to tell you if it is too hot, what you need to do. And that's the next part. Let's talk about ways that we can fix signal that is given to you and it's already too hot. How do you fix it? Let's dive in with that. But before we do, can I rabbit trail real quick? I want to make sure that you understand that there's a difference between pre-fader metering and post-fader metering. I tend to switch back and forth, but for the most part, when I'm checking the recording levels or the soft synth level, I'm always going to make sure that I'm pre-fader metering. To check that, you just go to Options and you come down and you check pre-fader metering. That means that the meter is not affected by the fader. If you turn down the fader and you're in post-fader metering, then it's going to look like the level's good. It's not too loud. Well, that's just because it's post-fader. So I tend to work in pre-fader metering first. Then when I start to put plugins on things and I start really mixing, I switch to post-fader so I can see what's happening after all that processing. Does that make sense? Rabbit trail finished. All right, let's take a look at the bass. So one way that you can fix signal that's too loud is if you've got a compressor on a track, you can just turn the output of the compressor down. I duplicated this bass track and I put an amp simulator and chorus and saturation on it. Other videos to come on how to do some of that. But I've also got a compressor on it. I simply just turn the output down. So this is the amplified, the faux amp chorused bass soloed, and I'm gonna show you here how we're getting pretty hot if I don't turn it down. See how we're getting close, but it looks like it's really hot. But remember, that's VU, it's not DBFS. That's why I love the VU meter. So that was a little hot for my taste, so I turn it down a little bit. So that's one way. Just, again, check out this meter right here. See how low that is? That's DBFS. So what a false sense of signal this gives you. I'm sorry to harp on it. I hate it for tracking. Okay, that's way number one. Way number two, you could quite simply just put a trim plugin on something. So let's say we didn't like this kick drum. No, let's choose the mix bus. I'm going to put a trim plugin on it. Let's see, we go other, trim. Okay. So I just turned the whole mix down, or in this case, it could have been the mix, it could be a track, it could be anything. You just turned it down 7 dB by using a trim. I will get rid of that. And the last way I want to show you, which is my preferred way, and let's show you on this snare sample. You see how it says right here, -4.3? This is your clip gain. All right, so this actually, if I hold Option, that's actually how loud that came in from the drum sample replacer. I think I was probably using Trigger. It just sounded really good, but I'm like, it's way too hot. I can't leave it that way. So I turned it down at least 4 dB. But this is how you trim using clip gain. And this is my favorite way to trim because you can see immediately the difference in the waveform. Or if you want this section right here, I'm gonna separate that. I want that section to be even lower, boom. And I want this section right here to be balls to the walls. Now we've got different snare levels. You know what? Because I have the console 1 on here and there's a compressor, all that signal is just digging into the compressor more. So we're actually not hearing a huge volume difference. But you get the point. Let's undo. Clip gain. Clip gain is the way to make things quieter if they came to you too loud. So let's say you're mixing, someone sends you a session, things are all over the place. First things first, I don't do anything. I don't care what track it is. I don't care what order it is. I don't organize the session. I just look at waveforms and I start bringing things down or up so that they're within that 0 VU range. So now I know where I'm sitting and I'm setting myself up for success. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, that's all I wanted to show you in this series. I hope that you got a lot out of this. I hope that it opened your eyes to some new things, and maybe you're going to start paying attention to those meters. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. As always, leave comments below. Let me know if you're digging what I'm putting out, and let me know if there's any other topics you'd like me to cover, and I'd be happy to do that. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video. We'll see you on the flip flop.
On the flip flop.
Good?